that connection, that power is yours. There is nothing that you need to prove. There is nothing you need to sacrifice. There is no struggling and pushing up the hill that is first a requirement in order for you to have this. You weren't born valuable. You weren't born evil. You weren't born, insert. It is there now, and you are already worthy of it. Welcome to the Divine Mirror, where we dive deeply into the journey of discovering your unique inner medicine. I'm your host, Harrison, and here we explore how each of us can become a force of healing and transformation simply by showing up authentically. Join me as we uncover the steps needed to be the cure that is you, and the magic of being a true divine mirror for others. Let's step into this journey together. Your inner magical medicine awaits. Welcome, powerful heart, to episode 2 of the Divine Mirror. Today's conversation, today's podcast journey is about all things releasing self-doubt and limiting beliefs along your divine mirror remembrance. As stated in episode 1, this is a journey. This is a journey back to the creative, loving potential and power that you already are. And in today's show, in today's discussion, I'm going to be going into all of the specific limiting beliefs that are getting in your way, most likely unconsciously, from you really starting to shine that divine mirror, from you really starting to express that divine mirror in the way that not only you deserve, but in the way that the people that you wish to help for them to see, in the way that they deserve to receive, in the way that they deserve to experience from you. So before I get to that, a quick little recap from episode 1. In episode 1, we had a little introduction on all things divine mirror and what it really means. We talked about the fact that you're already there. This divine mirror is a coming home. It is a remembering. It is a recalibrating to what is waiting to be experienced inside of you. It will not only support you and your journey, but it will also support the people that you wish to support, you wish to help, you wish to help transform in all the beautiful ways that if you're listening to this show, you most likely are already thinking of and trying to implement. We also talked about in our introductory episode 1, how this liberation, this is a remembrance of liberation. You're breaking yourself free from a lot of illusion, and how this mirror liberates others. It not only supports others, not only helps transform others, but it liberates them from a lot of the illusions and beliefs that actually we're going to talk about today. And finally, in our introduction session, I gave you some homework around dreams, around journaling, around the inner child. So I'd love to still hear about that if you practiced it, and I'd love to know how it went. So again, reach out to me on social media. You can find me at my handle of @HarrisonMar. That's Mar spelled MEAGHER. Okay, so today we're going to get into releasing self-doubt and limiting beliefs. I'm going to give you some practical understandings and teachings around the specific limiting beliefs and self-doubt, unconscious stories that you are playing, that are stopping your divine mirror from expressing. And I'm going to tell you how to really release these and give you some tools and practices at the end as well, like I did in episode 1, in really starting to implement all of this. But before we get to that, I want to start this episode with another poem. This time, this poem is from me, and it is called Mental Fiction Unraveled. In the labyrinth of my mind's vast creation, I spin tales of grandeur and false narration. A web of fiction, a deceptive scheme, where reality blurs and truth turns to dream. I weave threads of stories, oh so grand, building unsteady castles in the shifting sand. Characters dance with masks in disguise. Their scripted words are a clever guise. I paint vast scenes, strokes of my mental brush, creating many illusions, blurring lines with no rush. Fantasy entwined with the whispers of lies as my mind's deceitful drama unfolds and flies. In this mental maze of make believe and pretend, I love myself easily. I lose myself easily, unsure of where reality will end. The stories unfold with a deceptive allure, while my loving truth hides, obscured and unsure. Yet deep down within, a voice whispers to me, be wary, divine soul, of the tales you see. For in these false stories, we like to make our fragile hearts and souls feel pulled to wake. To let us seek the light of truth's embrace and free ourselves fully from this illusionary chase. For in loving reality, we find solace and peace, and the fabricated tales within us can open to cease. To help us break free from mental deceit and embrace the real truth our hearts beat to seek. Because in this graceful tapestry of a spiritual grand design, we embrace our innate strength to drop all stories and shine. So this poem, firstly, I hope hits your heart. But secondly, I shared it with the intention of really first describing and painting a picture for you of what is really happening here when it comes to first wanting to activate our divine mirror, but coming up against enemy number one. And enemy number one are these stories, these pieces of mental fiction that we all hold. And as we go deeper now into what some examples of these stories are and what you can do about them, I want you to hold something very powerful in your awareness, and it is the act of awareness itself. I'm going to share a quote with you. The act of awareness is an act of creation unto itself. The act of awareness is an act of creation unto itself. What does this mean? What this means is when it comes to these stories that we hold onto and thus create our reality from, sometimes all that is needed to let them go, to unravel them, to start to release the grip that they hold on you, is a simple act of loving awareness, a simple act of observing these stories, these pieces of fiction from a place of unconditional love, from a place of pure loving awareness. Because in the deepest of realities, these beliefs, these stories come from fear and pain. They come from experiences that you have had at some point in this life, maybe in past lives, that were created to initially keep you safe, were created to initially keep you from feeling pain around a certain context. So what is needed is not judgment. What is needed is not our extra layer of persecution on top of the story. What is needed is loving awareness, is to meet these stories with light-filled awareness and compassionate support. So as I start to express some of these stories with you, some examples of some that I've held, some I've seen other people hold that are stopping their divine mirror from fully realizing itself, I want you to notice your awareness of them. Notice this muscle, this mindfulness muscle that we all have to become aware of stories like this and just start practicing it. Another way that we can practice this awareness itself around these stories is, I'm going to be sharing them in a second. And as I share the stories, you're going to feel certain things. You're going to have sensations, maybe somewhere in your body, maybe somewhere across your chest, maybe somewhere on your forehead, along your throat, along your root center, your legs, etc. You're getting the idea. And what I'm getting at here is that your body keeps score, and your body keeps score of many things, including these stories that we hold, these unconscious loops, patterns that are inhibiting us. So we can combine these two things. We can combine the bodily sensations and our active awareness. We can bring awareness to a space in our body where we hold a specific story and go from there. So with that, let's hold that in our heart, our intention. I'm now going to start giving some examples to you of some stories that block our divine mirror, some stories that we hold that create a reality of falsehood, create a reality of illusion. The first of which is, you are not magical. You are not magical. Second is, you are not special. You are not special. The third of which is, you are not creative. You are not creative. And I'm going to pause here and group these three together before I continue. You are not magical. You are not special. You are not creative. I want you to take a moment and, as stated a second ago, notice how these stories make you feel, how you relate to them. Are they familiar to you? Are they in your experience? They're definitely in mine, especially growing up as a child, right? And simply, other than your active awareness and noticing the sensations in the bodies, I want you to ask yourself, is this true? Is it true that you are not magical? Is it true that you are not special? Is it true that you are not creative? I know when I ask myself that question in this moment, the immediate answer is no. The immediate response is, oh, this is an illusion. And yes, I have practiced with this. I've moved through these stories myself, and yes, they still take hold from time to time, but I've practiced loosening the tightness of these examples. But for you, we must begin somewhere. So even if there isn't an immediate no to it not being true, even if there is not an immediate, oh, this is an illusion, this is falsehood, we must first begin from the place where we want to be. We must begin from the place where we want to be. So if you cannot see the truth that you are magical, that you are special, that you are creative, I want you to fake it until you make it. I want you to fake that maybe you are special. Maybe you are magical. Maybe you are creative. Maybe Harrison saying these words now in this moment, that's all that I need to believe. Because in reality, you have nothing to lose. Because if you're believing the opposite of these, if you're believing that you're not magical, that you're not special, that you're not creative, I can take a guess, because if you're like me, you lived a life where this was reality. I can take a guess that your experience isn't what you want it to be. So let's shift it now. Let's fake it until we come back to what the reality actually is, what truth actually is. So act as if you are magical. Act as if you are special. Act as if you are innately creative. Because I can tell you right now that you are, but I am not here to force my beliefs on you. I am here to walk you back home to what is innately true for you. So just for a moment, close your eyes, take a breath, and ask yourself, like we did in our first session, what if? What if I was magical? What if I was special? What if I was creative? How would I act? Okay, let's keep going. So the next set of beliefs here and limiting illusions, limiting self-doubt realities is, who am I to do this? Who am I to do this? My voice doesn't matter. My voice doesn't matter. And the third one in this set, it's selfish to focus on my own gifts. It's selfish to focus on my own gifts. So again, this group of three beliefs, limiting beliefs here around your magic, your medicine, your divine mirror. I want you to really notice how they make you feel, what comes up in your body, what responds automatically. And like the first three, test it. Is this really true? What if it wasn't? and just play around with this, because I can tell you, especially with this first one here, who am I to do this? Who are you not to be? Who are you not to be when it comes to this divine mirror? You have as much purpose, value, magic as anyone else. So my automatic response to that first belief is that you deserve to share everything that you are. Same with my voice doesn't matter. Not only does your voice have intrinsic value, but we need to hear it. Not only does your voice have intrinsic magic, but that magic is what helps us come back to our deepest reality, come back to our deepest truth. Right? It is selfish to focus on my own gifts. I would actually say it is selfish not to. Right? When you don't put your gifts first, what are we doing? In another perspective, in another angle, when you don't put your gifts first, you're giving your power away. Right? And it's very hard to hear for some people. But when you don't put yourself first, your magic, your love, right, you're putting either another person or a group of people above you. And I'm not here saying that service isn't valuable. That's a whole other conversation. But in order to be the brightest light in the world to help others, you first must turn that light on. You first must provide that light with the fuel so it is ignited. So it is selfish not to focus on your gifts. Because when you don't focus on your gifts, we don't get to receive you. And when we don't get to receive you, this world, this universe, this spiritual school is less than. Let's keep going here. 3 more beliefs I'm going to throw at you. And again, remember to have awareness around how these beliefs are, if they're holding in you, where they are holding in you in your body, and just sit with them lovingly. Nothing needs to be done. Just observe with compassion. Next 3 are, what if I fail? I need to be perfect before I share anything, and people will reject or judge me. What if I fail? I need to be perfect before I share anything. People will reject or judge me. So again, I group these 3 together because they are really connected to this idea of I can only share my gifts. I can only share this divine mirror that I am unless it's perfect. And if I don't, I'm going to fail. People are going to reject and judge me. And I'm here to help with these beliefs, other than the fact that, you're still just having awareness around them. I'm going to share a alternative perspective on these things. I would agree that perfection is a challenge here, but it is a challenge on the other angle, on the other side. And what I mean by that is perfectionism, a perfect state, is an illusion. There will never be a point in which you are perfect. There will always be something more, right? There will always, this is a journey in itself. This is not a destination. This is a journey of becoming. So you will always be expanding. You will always be shifting and transforming into something else. So this mirror that you are, this medicine that you have to share, the magic, it is simultaneously and paradoxically whole and complete, and always shifting and changing and transforming. So you can step forward from that place, knowing that you're full and you are always changing. As the Buddha said, the only constant is inconstancy, or the only certainty is uncertainty. So we can step forward knowing that, yes, we will fail. Yes, people will react to us. Maybe they will be triggered. Maybe they will judge us. But that is not your responsibility. That is not your heaviness to hold. People's perception of you will never be a reflection of your worth. How people respond, how people are triggered or not triggered to the way that you show up in the world is their role to play, is their story to move through. What your responsibility is to, what your awareness should be on, is your medicine, is your mirror, and how you desire to shine it, nothing else. And if people wish to interact with you and then you decide to interact with them, beautiful. But that can be and should be separate to the right that you have to shine your light. So really sit with these truths. Really sit with how deserving you are of right now being ready to express this mirror, this medicine that is waiting to be shared. So once again, with these three stories, I'd ask you to really tune into where you're feeling them in the body and bring loving awareness to them. That is all that is needed. And we'll move on now to a couple more of these beliefs and these examples of ways in which we hold on to doubt around our divine mirror expression. So the next couple are a bit deep, so I'm going to do them individually and then talk about some of the aspects around them. So the next is, there's two here that I'll combine into one, is you have to work hard, and we'll apply it to this medicine, this mirror journey. You have to work hard to activate this mirror. You have to work hard to share this medicine that you are, and or you have to sacrifice yourself first in order to obtain it. Right? You have to sacrifice yourself first in order to meet the divinity, the power, the medicine, the potential, the creativity that's inside of you. And we could do a whole episode on the roots of this and why this is so deeply entrenched into almost all of us. And I have done on my other show, the Cosmic Love Antenna. Definitely go check it out and listen to some of the episodes I've done on religion and how this separation from God really plays a role in this. But here now in this moment, I just want to simply say that there is nothing separate. You are it all. Right? Whether you want to call the all God, the divine, the universe, nature, it is intrinsically all you. That what you are looking for is that which is looking. What you are looking for is that which is looking. So what this means in relation to these beliefs and your medicine and your divine mirror is the connection to it is independent of sacrifice and hard work. Yes, you may need to do some kind of devotional practices, and we'll speak about that in episode 3, right? Yes, you may need to open your heart to a higher power. But that higher power and this medicine, this divine mirror, is already yours. And it can be a moment of activation, a moment of opening that is all that's required to feel it. Yes, you may need, again, to do more devotional practices, more devotional tools, more devotional acts of showing up for oneself to really sustain this connection. But that connection is there already. That connection, that power is yours. There's nothing that you need to prove. There's nothing you need to sacrifice. There is no struggling and pushing up the hill that is first a requirement in order for you to have this. You weren't born fallible. You weren't born evil. You weren't born, insert. It is there now, and you are already worthy of it. So this is very deep, and this is very, again, intrinsic in our culture, in our religions, in our ancient past. So there may be extra work for each of us. I know there has been a lot of work for me, especially growing up religious and thinking that my higher power is outside of me on a cloud, taking notes, waiting for me to die, and then I'll be judged for the actions done or not done. There's a lot of unraveling needed here. So for you, whether you have this religious background or not, there will still be some kind of, most likely, separation between you and this power, you and this medicine, you and this divine mirror. And that separation first must be removed. It's a remembrance, remember. It's a coming home. It's a reclaiming of something that you never lost. So these particular beliefs, these particular stories, you may need some extra loving awareness around. They may be showing up in multiple parts of your body, right? It may not just be culture and religion. It may also be the family setting that you grew up in. Maybe your parents really pushed a perspective that there is a lot of struggle and hard work and sacrifice needed to get to the thing, to get to the destination and the goal. So we must give ourselves permission to really let this go, right? And really have compassion for ourselves around this. And I like to speak that, we can have a conversation here around purpose. We can connect this divine mirror conversation to purpose. And I'm a big fan of Mr. Eckhart Tolle. And Eckhart Tolle teaches, and I really resonate with this teaching, that there are two stages of purpose for all people, for every single soul. The first stage of purpose is coming home to what you are, coming home to this all powerful, all creative, potential filled divine mirror that you already are, reconnecting back to that truth. And as I said in episode 3, I'm going to really go deeper into some ways that you can make this a constant part of your daily routine. That's the first stage of purpose. The second stage of purpose is what is then inspired from that reconnection, what is then coming out of you, right? It's your cup is full and overspilling into intuitive and creative, inspired action. That is then the second stage of purpose. Or in this context today of this chat, it is how the divine mirror then reflects out into the world. Once the divine mirror is grounded and rooted in their truth, in what they are, how do they then reflect that truth out into the world uniquely? And this is really the flip of the self-sacrifice, the struggle, the working hard narrative that we've all been conditioned to believe. We must first do the thing to then have the power, where this is saying, I have the power and now I can do the thing. Okay. And I'm gonna factor in here a beautiful question I received in the community that really connects to all of this. And it's the question is, what is the nature of self-sabotage? And how do we acknowledge it without succumbing to self-loathing? And I think this is, it's really important and really relevant and relative to a lot of these beliefs that we've been talking about. What is the nature of self-sabotage and how do we acknowledge it without succumbing to self-loathing? Well, in my experience, self-sabotage comes from an inability to feel safe in the power that we are. As I said at the start of this episode, all of these stories, all of these beliefs come from a place of pain and fear. They come from a place of pain and fear to keep us safe, to keep us secure, to keep us in our comfort zone. But they're not coming in as evil entities to keep us down. We hold on to them from an intrinsic place of keeping ourselves safe. So applying it to this example, what is the nature of self-sabotage and how do we acknowledge it without succumbing to self-loathing? Well, the easy answer here is seeing that self-sabotage is coming from love. It's coming from a place of a protection mechanism. So we acknowledge it from this lens. We acknowledge it from love. We acknowledge it that, oh, I am self-sabotaging myself in this example, and this example, and this example, because I'm trying to keep myself safe. A part of me, most likely your inner child, maybe some other parts, part of you is activating in these specific moments, sabotaging you because it thinks, it feels that if it doesn't, it will not be safe. It thinks and feels if it doesn't, you will be in danger. So we first acknowledge it with love, not judgment, not persecution. And how we shift into expansion rather into self-loathing is then speaking to that part, having a conversation with that part that's trying to keep us safe, having a conversation with that part that is self-sabotaging us from a perspective of protection, having a conversation with that part and letting it know that it's okay, thanking it, right? And this is actually one of the the practices I'm going to give you for homework here, right? And we'll use this now as a specific example, speaking to that part and using the Ho'oponopono prayer, which is, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Speaking to that part that is self-sabotaging, that may be leading to self-loathing after. Speaking to that part. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And then, most importantly, the last step here is then acting from a place that is different, taking a step forward in beyond the fear that may still be there, beyond self-sabotage that may still be there, beyond the judgment that you have for it, and creating a new reality, creating a new neural pathway, right? Creating a new way of being and moving forward regardless, right? Moving beyond this part that's stuck in fear and pain and protection, right? Meeting it with love, meeting it with compassion, and then acting differently, right? So I want to really encourage all of you to practice this with your own stories with this. And it is an inner child particular process, but it may not be the inner child that's holding this story, right? But just practice this Ho'oponopono prayer that I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you, right? And you can do it in a letter process. You can write to this part of you. You can just repeat this mantra, or you can go into more detail. But I really want you to implement this, right? And let me know how it goes. And I hope I answered that question around self-sabotage and how do we acknowledge it without self-loathing. Okay, so let's continue this thread. Now, I want to continue with some more homework here around this topic. And so I just gave you that letter process, the Ho'oponopono prayer to practice with those parts, remembering that the solution to these stories is not just awareness, noticing where they come up, but now really practicing a place of what do I need to feel safe? Right? What if all of these stories, all of these beliefs are most likely coming from a place of fear and pain and wanting to stay in our comfort zone? We can start to remedy these beliefs when they come up with, what do I need to feel safe? What do I need to give myself so this story doesn't have to activate? What do I need to give myself so this part of me doesn't need to protect me and keep me in my comfort zone? So the second piece of homework here is I want you to journal around, what do I need to feel safe? So put this at the top of the page. Ask yourself honestly, what do I need to feel safe? Right? What are some examples of things that nourish me? Right? I give you some examples for me, right? Going out in nature, going on nature walks, connecting to the spirit that is in nature, doing yoga practices that revitalize my body, revitalize my connection to my heart and my spirit, nourishing myself with food, right? Good quality food that meets that nourishment internally, and then also meditation, right? A regular daily meditation practice, sometimes most likely twice a day for me, to really reconnect me back to that first stage of purpose that I spoke about earlier. So for you, again, what do I need to feel safe? And journal around some examples. The third piece of homework here, I'm going to get you to practice around releasing these self-doubts and limiting beliefs that are stopping your divine mirror from shining bright into the world, is a cleansing prayer. And this prayer you can also find on my website, harrisonmar.org. You can go to the freebies section and you can just sign up your name, put in your email, and you'll get access to this prayer. But I'll repeat it for you now. This prayer is, dear soul, please lovingly, dear soul, please clear and place the following in a healing chamber of love and light, all negative thought forms and disembodied spirits, souls, and entities that can block clear communication between you and I. Dear soul, please clear me and place in a healing chamber of love and light all negative thought forms and disembodied spirits, souls, and entities that can block clear communication between you and I. So this prayer is something I actively practice myself. I share with people I work with. It is not a long-term fix, but it is a short-term solution. When you're out and about, you feel succumb and overtaken by some of these beliefs, and you want to do something, you want to act differently, you want to step into a greater reality, and you just need something quick to cleanse you, this prayer can do just that, right? It can actively really support your energetic body to let go of anything that's holding on, specifically if you've picked it up from other people and other groups outside of you. And finally, the last piece of homework here today, it's an easy one, is I want you to celebrate and honor yourself for exactly where you are in this divine mirror journey. And in the next episode, we're going to go into more devotional practices. But here now, I want you to acknowledge just exactly where you are. And I spoke about this a moment ago, but this is really in accordance with the idea that this is a journey of becoming. And this divine mirror, while it is already yours, these steps that you are taking to remember and reactivate, all of them deserve to be celebrated. All of them deserve to be honored. So take a moment today and please share with me how you will celebrate yourself because of this. Reach out to me on social media and let me know how that goes, as well as the other pieces of homework. I can't wait to hear what they bring up in you. Okay, so wrapping it up here, I'm going to give you a little snippet of next episode. Episode 3 will be cultivating self-acceptance and devotion along this divine mirror journey. So what does this mean? How can we go deeper into self-acceptance and devotion? Because devotion, as I spoke about today a little bit, is what is needed, right? You are already at the destination. You're already that which you want to be, yet it is not shining, right? It's not moving through you. So if we're not here to struggle, we're not here to sacrifice, what do we need to do? And that is really what I'm going to talk about in next episode. So I hope today brought you some value, brought you some insights, brought you some love. I'm so excited for you to practice some of these things that we talked about today. And until our next episode and next part of this journey, I send you love and we'll talk again soon. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of The Divine Mirror. Remember that this journey of unlocking your inner medicine doesn't have to be done alone. If you're ready for personalized guidance, reach out to me for one-on-one coaching and let's walk home along this path together. I'd love for you to share also this episode with friends and loved ones who might also find inspiration along this journey. And don't forget to connect with me on social media to share your reflections and insights and the outcomes of your homework from each episode. I can't wait to hear how your inner transformation unfolds. And until next time, keep shining and embracing that beautiful mirror within you.